BTNers, I'm grateful to have an opportunity to share with you a little bit about my business and how we're helped small, mid-sized businesses for 20 years. We're in our 20th year of operation. I've gotten a couple of you to come out to my home and price work, and I have more coming out. I truly am grateful for the talent that is present in this room, and oddly enough, the business maturity as I get to know more of you. Many of you have been in business for a number of years, and we have focused on helping from a solo entrepreneur to a good mid-sized company of about 200 employees. So that's really our sweet spot. Anything beyond that tends to be beyond our capabilities at the moment, to be honest. Hey, Thomas. The main things that come out of technology and your business today is how do you evolve from doing it all yourself the way you've done it all your life. Some of it might be I write down job tickets. It might be that I answer the phone when someone needs something right away. Well, how can you scale a business when you have to do the work, manage the admin, answer the phone, and record all this at the same time? How do you do this in an environment where data is the real value, right? In other words, credit card transactions happen. That's how most people pay their bills today. How do you manage all that in a way that is safe for your business and allows you to scale? How do you manage payroll and accounts payable and receivable? How can that be automated to reduce time on you? How can you have less interruptions when you're working a job quote? These are all capabilities that we begin to explore with you as we begin to work with you. We look at each of your workflows and begin to say, what can be different? Are you aware that Bill.com exists? Well, what does that do? It allows you to pay your bills scheduled out in advance and have interaction independent of you having to touch it. Or I can take a phone system and have someone potentially who speaks English answer the phone for me and not have to pay an arm and a leg for that. And then I can have those calls come back. A lot of people think, well, I have to hire an admin to do this for me. I have to have an accounts payable person or accounts receivable person. How am I going to process the deposits so that I can afford the hard materials to actually get the work done? How am I going to make payroll next week if someone doesn't pay me? These are all questions that you begin to look at how technology can make this a little bit easier. For example, you can take credit cards. But wait, it costs me to accept credit cards. We have a solution. Add 3.5% to your transactions. If they pay by check, they pay the flat rate. If they don't, they can pay by credit card. That helps cash flow. How does one do that today to stay compliant? A digital wallet goes a long way. What's that? I have a place where I have my estimates go, and that's also the place where my invoices go, and my customers can go to their digital wallet for my company and make payments. It also allows reminders to go out. Hey, look, you got a project that we're reaching a milestone, time to make a payment, right? These are all things that eliminates the accounts receivable role. If you begin to think about this, these are technologies that you can bring to work today in your business that lower your overhead. The hardest part, in my experience with growing my business, has been around finding qualified people who care. I've discovered that it's more important that someone care and they can be taught than if they know everything and they don't care. So this is, I guess, what I'm really trying to convey is that we care about how your business operates. And the benefit about working with my company as a technology provider is we see hundreds of businesses and we understand how different people approach problems. And honestly, I take ideas from everyone that I work with and I bring them together. What is unique about me and my role in the company is that I am one of those perpetual learners. I mean, I woke up this morning at 4 a.m. and I'm learning about how all the rail that they're bringing into Orange County and Los Angeles, the basin, how that's going to change property over the next 20 years. And that is something that I enjoy paying attention to. I do the same thing with technology. It used to be all I needed was antivirus on my systems, and I'd operate just fine. And things have evolved today where now there are compliance guidelines. If you take credit cards, you have a certain level of compliance. If you receive emails, believe it or not, you are highly vulnerable to what's called business email compromise. Well, what's that? That's how 80% of all cyber breaches occur. And why do I raise cyber breaches? Because it is in the news every day. If you're looking to buy a car, CDK just had, they were what's called a SaaS provider. They provided dealer management systems to automobile dealerships. You may use a service similar. I had a customer, a person I met in a different networking group. He does home care. He provides senior care at home for his patients. And the business that he had an application that allowed him to schedule, track his employee time, and bill out. They were hacked. And for 2 weeks, he could not use that system. It wasn't his problem that they were hacked. It was the provider's problem. How do you operate your business when the tools that you base your processes on break? We call that incident response planning. How do you deal with, my sister-in-law was traveling in Europe over the summer. Her banking information, her contacts, her email are all on her phone, and it was lost. How do you secure that information? Your business is becoming mobile. All of you operate from your vehicle. What information is on your phone? Well, when I log into the bank, doesn't it send me a two-factor authentication? What happens if you lose your phone? These are all aspects of technology that enable us, but also have to give us the ability to do what's called a remote wipe. Hey, that's gone. It's now lost. We don't need to have that anymore. We don't need someone to figure out that you didn't put your facial ID or your thumbprint on it and figured your passcode out and now has access to all this information. Email is the way that we are all taken advantage of today. It may look legitimate. It may come from a customer that you're thinking you're working with, but they've found a way to represent themselves with just a slight name change. These are all things that we help you detect. One of the things that one of the members here said, don't be a business owner in camouflage or hidden. Be out there advertising. Be out there making what your company does. Get testimonies from your customers to promote your business, especially in the communities. How do you do that? Well, I found that working with other partners in the group, Kathy Etienne, for example, I'm able to do mailing. I also learn from other people's marketing experience, and I bring that to bear in marketing my own business. It happens to be B2B. Yours may be B2C. The same technologies that I use in marketing my business on a B2B level, some of those can be applicable to you. You know, people look for things on LinkedIn. They look for things on YouTube. Wait a minute. If I'm a plumber and I have a problem with my sink, I'm going to look it up first before I call the plumber. And then when I get into this job and I go, oh my gosh, something's not right, I don't know how to fix that. What if all of a sudden you were a plumber on demand via Zoom and you could work with someone, charge by the minute on a credit card, charge them a 3.5% markup, and get that on-demand service? The same thing could apply for electrical, could apply to any number of your trades. Technology is changing how we interact with our customers. And I'm encouraging you to think about how that could apply for your business. Just think about estimating. How much time do you spend estimating projects? What if you were able to direct your customer with a camera that they had on their phone to capture a video and for you to ask questions about this piece or that piece, and how much time they might save you? What if that estimation could be done offshore and come back to you to be validated? And then you've now just reduced your cost a degree. These are all ideas and methods that we employ in helping our own business and would like to help you with yours. If you have any questions? I've been pontificating a long time. Go.
Maybe a comment or an anecdote. One of the banks that I use for my personal banking is Chase. And I've actually gotten some really, really convincing fake emails where you click on the link and it takes you to a fake Chase website, which is really, really
designed to get you to enter your username and password.
And so for somebody who worked in finance, even for someone like me, I almost didn't catch that. And so perhaps what are some tips or suggestions that you might have for other members.
Don't click on links that come to you by email.
Yeah.
There's no way to really know. What he's describing is what's called token hijacking. When they have you enter your password and username, they are actually having a false website and they're capturing the token that's handed to you. And they pass it back to you, but now they've got it and they bypassed all the security that was in place. And now they can forward your emails. They can set up, they can be the man in the middle. They can watch how your business operates. I will share with you, I'm on a weekly security call with other businesses of my nature. And there was a customer that had been breached, and the average dwell time they call it, is 180 days. They don't need to strike because what they're doing is they're gathering intelligence about your bank balances. They know how you operate. And when they pulled the trigger, they said, give us $800,000. They said, we don't have it. He said, here's the bank statement that says you do. Okay. Email is the way that they gain entrance. And not having the ability to detect an adversary when they're on your computer is what most businesses suffer with. Yes, sir.
Two things. First one is I also deal with Chase, and I had an issue. And Chase told me never, ever accept any email or text from us. We're only going to contact you by phone. Okay, so that's what they told me.
Guess what AI is doing today with phones?
Oh, I can imagine.
Okay? They're doing that. They're able to replicate a voice. They're able to replicate an image. They're able to replicate, even in our business, when we serve a customer because of what happened in Las Vegas with I forget the name of the casino. MGM, thank you. They called into the support desk representing themselves as someone who needed a password reset. And they said there was such a hurry. We now offer two-factor authentication to us so that when you call in for support ticket, we're going to say, before we make a change like reset your password, what is the code that's on your phone, right? So we know that we're talking to the right person. And similarly, you could ask that of us, and we could tell you you're talking to the right person, because video can be faked, voices can be faked, emails can be faked, text can be faked. How do you validate?
So my second question was, so according to McAfee, I think it's McAfee or whatever,
yes.
And these other sites that sell this stuff, I spend about 15 grand a year on the invoices I get. But I mean, they send me an invoice and say
$15,000.
Well, it's like 5,000. It's like 500 here, 500 there. Every few days, I get one that says I bought it. And if I didn't buy it, click here. You know, it's one of those things. But doesn't the government, or isn't there somebody that's going after these people that spend so much time trying to steal from us?
Is that like, this is an election year, I gotta be careful.
Is there anything being done about it?
It is only when it affects the politician's pocketbook does something get done with it. I mean, that's just the reality of it. The small business has to struggle. I mean, you think about what's happening in real estate in the major cities. This is in the Wall Street Journal, so I'm not giving anything away. There is a hotel in San Francisco, 3,800 rooms, that just devalued its value by $1 billion over a 5-year period because they don't have the business anymore. People don't want to go to San Francisco. They're going to go to Las Vegas instead. This is happening in major cities all over the place. That's where they're going to focus their energy on how to save the banks, because all these small banks, mid-tier banks, are supplying these pieces. The problems are much bigger than, hey, McAfee sending me an email. I mean, that's the reality of it. What we have to do as entrepreneurs is take care of ourselves. We have to understand that, how do I get better? We had a discussion last week about 2 weeks ago about using natural gas and how we all prefer it. The reality is, California is going to drive the price of gas, both natural and other, because we have an abundance of sunlight. And we have to convert our energy and consume electricity because it's free here. It really is. If you put up solar panels after you've paid for it, it's part of your home. The paradigm that is changing is all what we've grown up with has changed. Technology has changed our lives. I'm looking at putting in a heat pump. It's going to save me potentially during the summer about $400 a month, and during the winter probably $200 a month. I have solar. I have a battery. It's free energy for me at this point. Technology is changing how we live and how we interact with each other. And if you can increase your revenue by offering Zoom on service, right? If you can increase your revenue by having your accounts payable person be a digital wallet, if you can increase your security and know that If a mobile device is how you operate today, honestly, that's the way things are going to be going for just about everybody. That if it gets lost or misplaced, we know exactly where it is, and we can wipe it when you need to. And how you protect yourself from business email compromise is security awareness training. That's how we handle this. And that's what how one of the things that we bring to bear. Anything else?
Is mobile less prone to getting hacked than, say, a PC? If you accidentally open something?
So I'm going to ask the question, are you an Apple or an Android person? Okay, so Apple tends to be more secure, but both are vulnerable, okay? If Apple, I happen to be an Apple lover, okay? And so I, because of all the way the devices interconnect, I'm able to copy things from one thing to another without having to do it. No device is impervious. Impervious is the right way to say that. But the process to protecting you should be the same throughout. This is really what it comes down to. If you're doing a job for plumbing, when you scope it out, you know that there are specific rules for every aspect of the plumbing job, right? If you're laying out a house and you want to build a strong foundation, there has to be a certain parameter. Technology is the same way. We have to follow a specific prescribed pattern, and we know that we can make you not very attractive at a low-hanging fruit level, but very unattractive because it's more, you're not worth the investment in time. Does that make sense?
That totally makes sense. What about facial or touch recognition? If you lose your phone, is that a safe way to, enter into things?
So one of the things that's happening is what happens if you drink, right? I used to engorge myself. I mean, I used to really enjoy eating. But someone could take your phone while you're sleeping. If your spouse wanted to know what you're doing, right? Now they have access to your phone. What if you fell asleep with your phone and you're at a place where you're not comfortable, like an airport or a friend's house, and you didn't know that they weren't wanting to deal with you? So sometimes it can be all right. It helps, but we're all vulnerable at some point. And it's when we least expect it is when it happens.
So if you had that on your phone, and you lost the phone, that really can't be hacked? Or do you know yet?
I'm going to say it's difficult, but I'm not going to say can't. Okay?
You can do a mobile wipe with iPhones, right?
Absolutely. We can mobile wipe any device if we have our agent on it. A lot of people we're helping companies move from what was a desktop now to a virtual. Can you imagine being able to operate your business from anywhere? I have an employee in Portland, outside of Portland, Oregon yesterday. His power was out for 8 hours. I said, go to another shop. And we do what's called zero trust networking. I don't mean to get too complicated here, but basically he was able to go to a coffee shop and we put a bubble around his computer and all of his communication. And now he's able to do his work from wherever it was. Power outages don't have to stop you. Internet loss doesn't have to stop you because we can go anywhere with a mobile device and operate. That means I don't have downtime, or I have much less. And he's able to take calls through his laptop and service our customers. You had a question?
So whenever I pay my bills, I always do incognito window.
Uh-huh.
Does that help to protect you?
It does if they're not on your system, okay? Honestly, the challenge is cookies won't be deposited in an incognito window, but if you've had a business email compromise and you're part of a network, rarely have I seen someone experience it as an individual, but as a business. They get on one system and then they do what's called lateral movement. And they're trying to move from one system to another to find a common password to attack your source of information. Microsoft 365, Google Workspace, those are the primary email carriers. We actually have a service that allows us to monitor, are you logging in from the computer we know about into the Microsoft 365 or Google Workspace? Or are you logging in, let's say, from England? Or are you doing impossible travel? Were you in Los Angeles and all of a sudden you're in New York? We're able to tell these things and shut down your account once that's detected. These are services that most people aren't aware of. That's what's needed today to protect most businesses and their emails. What other questions? Yes, sir.
About how long would if they can't hack into your phone with facial ID, is that like days, hours?
So let me ask you, if you lost your phone,
yeah,
how can you operate? You don't have access, no one's calling you, right? You don't have access to your bank accounts. You don't know who to call. You don't have their phone numbers. That's really important to be able to have. having the ability to recover your device rapidly and make sure that one's is complete peace of mind. So that's what my recommendation is.
Like a half a day. I'm just saying, if I misplaced it, like when should I?
When should you consider this?
Yes.
Well, if we were working with you, you'd call us and say, hey, I've misplaced my phone. Where is it? It's at this location. Is that you? As long as it's online, someone hasn't turned it off, we're able to track your notebook, your mobile device, and tell you where it is. And if necessary, remote wipe it.
Interesting. Wow.
If I can make a comment, I had one happen to me. I got some sunglasses as a gift. I liked them. I wanted to go get more.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm on my phone. I go to this Blenders, and I open up the link, and everything looked legitimate. And all of a sudden, I'm looking. There was some great discounts. So I'm like, okay, I'll buy this, buy that. I entered my credit card. It said credit card declined, and I entered another one. I felt I was stunned. They had replicated this website with all of the data. And I'm scrolling through, I'm looking at everything. I went out and looked for it. I clicked on, and then all of a sudden my card was compromised.
The nice thing about using credit cards is we have much more protection than using an ATM card. So if any of you have any doubt about should you use an ATM card, I'm going to tell you no.
So
it's better
do
to
not use a debit card?
Yeah, do not use a debit card.
Never.
Okay, you have no protections. With credit, you have many protections.
What about the dual? Where it's,
Dual what?
Well, it's dual. It like all of my debit cards is a debit Visa.
Do you have employees?
No.
Okay, 1099. So when you pay your member, I have employees. I have a separate payroll account, and I was asked, why do you have a separate payroll account? Because I don't want anyone to have access to a check or transaction that I conduct on a regular basis to get beyond whatever I allocate for payroll. That's my ultimate risk. You don't want someone to get to your assets. If they have an ATM card, is it going to be an account that you have more than a couple $1,000s in? So I'm suggesting always keep things at arm's length. Right?
You deal with this stuff, with the fraud stuff all the time with credit cards. And debit is not the way to go. I being in the business, got hit with somebody actually replicated one of mine, and I would never use a debit card again. Yeah. They took it. During Christmas time, they withdrew about $30,000.
Wow.
So,
and there's very little coverage.
To make a deposit, and I turned sheet white. We got all the money back from Wells Fargo, but it was just a complete undertaking to get the money back. Somebody was at an ATM machine, replicated, I don't know, and I think somebody at the bank was in on it, replicated the card, and they were whacking it at a casino, and like 1,000, whatever the limit was, and it's like, I never use it, and all of a sudden I go and I'm like, what happened? Yeah, it's spooky, and I'm on this. I see this stuff every day with the credit card transactions. Yeah,
I get alerts whenever a charge occurs over a certain threshold on my credit cards because I want to know what's going on. I don't know if any of you do this, but it makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Did you have a question?
Yeah, as far as like layering, so what are standard like recommendations? Like, can you use that PayPal or?
I use PayPal.
Just to keep one more layer between. It's funny, like, how do you go backwards? Because,
there's
definitely many, like, I think on my Google Wallet, I think I have a debit card on there.
Okay, so you have a virtual. So remove the debit card. Yeah. All right, use a virtual credit card if you're going to enter it directly. I use PayPal services, and that way it's all. They never have my actual credit card information.
Okay. And so anytime, if I ever do a transaction, say I'm at Home Depot or something. If I ever do use a debit, I always run it as a credit. For one, I always started doing that because if I ever did need a refund, the refund came back right away, whereas with a debit, it would take much longer.
Okay, I'm just suggesting if you don't have to use an ATM or debit card, don't use it. All right? That's the last resort.
Even in point of purchase, point of sale?
Yep. I use my Apple Watch for credit. You can put your I don't have to even carry credit cards with me anymore.
All right.
Don't put my ATM on my wallet.
I have everything go through one business account, which helps me with all of my accounting.
Yeah.
Right? I can still set stuff up like through PayPal, through other.
Yes.
Okay.
I have my customers, and Garrett can attest to this. He's a customer of ours now. We have a digital store front where we present our invoices, and they go in and they make payments with their credit cards, and it just shows up. To me, that's miraculous. It goes into my QuickBooks. It's in the right account. I don't have to pay someone to go process a check or scan it. that saves, as we scale, this is all ways of lowering expenses and reducing complexity.
That particular thing, so you guys know, not to take from his presentation, that's, we provide that service.
Yeah.
With invoicing software. So.
Yes, sir.
How do you feel about Venmo and Zelle?
So they have access to your accounts directly. For me, I keep a balance in Venmo. For those that use it, that's what we do. I just keep it there. I don't allow it to dip into my account, right? I'll fund it when necessary. But that's because Venmo is just like another, it's like a payroll account, the way to describe it. I don't give it access to everything. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's owned by
So how do
PayPal,
you-
isn't it?
Pardon me?
Isn't it owned by PayPal?
No, I don't think so. I'm not positive, though. Your
So
question?
how do you actually fund the Venmo?
You're right.
You make a deposit.
I
account,
tie it,
from
so-
your-
It is.
There's my business,
Yeah.
and then there's my personal.
Yeah.
I don't believe in keeping a lot of money in my checking account because it doesn't earn a lot of interest. So I believe in keeping it elsewhere and planning it out. So I'll fund it from a checking account that's personal, that is very limited in funds. Again,
Okay.
I'm one of those guys that get alerts.
Again, you're limiting your risk.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
All my accounts are limited in funds.
No problem.
Great job.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Is that safer?
It is. Because what's happening, they haven't duplicated the tap yet, but they have put false fronts on ATM machines so they can read your card and a camera to watch you enter your PIN.
Yeah.
So then they can duplicate a card, like maybe what Garrett experienced. Right?
I never feel safe tapping my card. I
You
feel
don't?
like people can.
Tapping your card, nothing is, they don't know your credit card number or anything.
I thought I read something where somebody can have a device close by that can read it Bluetooth
Oh,
or
like
something.
scan your card, like walk up to you and.
So
So
this
I
is
never
this
do
is
a
what that's
tap.
called. This is a flipper, and I can scan. So wireless security is a thing, guys. I can walk into a business, run this. I know what Wi-Fi they're using. I can cause this to take it down and quickly capture the passwords as they reconnect, and then go decrypt them.
Wow.
So this is $150 on Amazon,
Oh my
and it can
gosh.
be used for Bluetooth, wireless, garage door openers.
Holy smokes.
You kind of get my point, right? And this is legal. It's because it's not used for malicious activity, designed for malicious activity. It just does it. I use it as a demonstration tool. If I'm coming into a business and they have Wi-Fi and I go, hey, do you mind if I check to see how secure your Wi-Fi is? And if I can take it down and within probably 10 minutes have the password, is this the password for your network, and connect to it, then it's just like I've got a storefront that's wide open, right? So just little things. These little things make a difference. One last thought I'll give you, and then I'll call it today. We all play games, right? My team and I play a game called Backdoors and Breaches, an expansion pack for incident response plans. We use this as a way to rehearse fire drills. What happens when you lose power? Well, there's a strategy to deal with that. What happens when you lose internet? There's a strategy for that. What happens if you have a business email compromise? There's a strategy for that. If your business experiences ransomware, what's the process? Who do we escalate to? What are the pieces to this? Response planning is not just a game. It applies to real world. Is that it, guys? I've
I
talked a lot
highly
today.
recommend everybody to a one-on-one with Andy.
Yeah.
A pleasure.
He's a wealth of knowledge in this crazy.
Wow.